The Western is one of the oldest genres in all of cinema. It's also one of the most broad. You've got slow burn character pieces like The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, crowd pleasing blockbusters like Tombstone, and introspective pictures like Unforgiven. You can have something that's laugh out loud hysterical like Blazing Saddles, while also having your stomach tied up in knots by the relentlessly bleak and gruesome Bone Tomahawk. News of the World, which saw release in late 2020, fits into the Western genre, but also poaches elements from road films and family dramas. The competition when it comes to Westerns is tough. There are just so many great films to compare it to. So, how does News of the World set itself apart? Let's find out. Thank you so much for watching. Before we get started, click on the red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new video. Just a quick FYI, today's video will be spoiler free. Let me start off this review by saying something that's important for a little bit of context. I'm not a big fan of English director Paul Greengrass's work. While his handycam, in-your-face shooting style makes his films feel more chaotic, that's not always a good thing. While it worked for United 93, arguably his best film, it makes the Jason Bourne movies he's directed nearly unwatchable. I know a lot of people have mixed opinions on his films, so take what you will from that particular bias of mine. I do have to give Greengrass credit for directing Captain Phillips, which gave us this absolute gem of a meme. Greengrass once again teams up with Tom Hanks, this time to bring us the story of former Confederate soldier Jefferson Kyle Kidd, a man who travels the great state of Texas and reads newspapers to local townsfolk. A wrench is thrown into his relatively simple life when he stumbles upon an abandoned young girl wearing Indian clothing who speaks absolutely zero English. He does the fatherly thing to do, which is attempt to reunite the young girl with whatever family she has. Matters are complicated by the language barrier, and when Kidd comes to realize the young girl was raised by Kiowa Indians. The setup for this movie is very straightforward. It's not the most remarkable movie in the world, and doesn't really do a whole lot to differentiate itself from the better westerns that have been released over the years. While the film has action elements to it, including a very poorly edited mountain shootout that perfectly illustrates Greengrass's hectic style, this is a drama above all else. If you're looking to watch guys kick in a saloon door, chug a glass of beer, and then bash it over somebody's head at the bar, there are better movies out there for you. What News of the World does get right is its characters. Tom Hanks has played the part of fatherly figure before, most notably in the criminally underappreciated Road to Perdition. He does a fine job here of showing us a weathered and weary veteran who carries some baggage just below the surface. Kidd's involvement with the Confederacy is addressed and discussed, but the film isn't here to pass judgment on him. Yeah, he's a veteran of multiple wars and he's clearly seen some awful stuff, but News of the World very much treats him as a fleshed out human being instead of some stereotypical bad guy in need of redemption. This certainly isn't the meatiest role that Hanks has portrayed, but he does a good job with the material he's provided. Young German actress Helena Zengel plays Joanna, the girl who films a bond with the man destined to help her find her way home. Zengel is tasked with doing a whole lot of heavy lifting for a role that has very little dialogue, and she does an adequate job with the portrayal of someone torn between multiple different ways of life at the same time. News of the World is a simple story about simple people during a more simple time. Greengrass tells a compelling story that resonates on the most basic of levels, but he continues to plague his own films with bizarre camera work and sketchy editing. It's about as bare bones as filmmaking gets, providing an engaging and adequate narrative, but doing absolutely nothing to move the genre forward in any way. We have seen slow burn westerns work before. I mentioned Assassination of Jesse James before. That movie's 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and I didn't look at my watch once. Watching News of the World, I was ready to wrap things up about halfway through, and this movie is just about 2 hours long. If you want a fine western that leans way more into the family drama than outright action, you can certainly do a lot worse than this. I wouldn't give it a glowing recommendation, but if you want something predictable to burn a few hours off the clock, here you go. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also like and share the video since that tells YouTube it's worth promoting. Sound off down in the comments. Let me know what you thought of News of the World, and I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.